What's up, everybody? This is Judith. I hope you're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, yeah, I watched a lot of football, as much as I could take. I mean, I had to turn the Houston game off. That was depressing, kind of. I don't know what CJ Stroud's problems are, but he crumbles under pressure. That was truly some of the worst big game football I've ever seen. And if he didn't have that amazing defense, they would have been done much, much sooner, I think. And I watched them a couple times during the regular season, so I don't know. I mean, I have to guess he was a little bit better, but those turnovers were ghastly. Very challenging to watch. And he seems like a good young man, but if I were him, I would think about, and this sounds harsh, but I would probably retire. I mean, I would go find somebody who does psychological help for people under pressure. I'd have to make a drastic change. I'd cut my hair. I'd grow a beard. I'd just be a different looking person so I could become a different person. Or I'd just retire. Like, that would be crazy. That I just would be that embarrassed. It was that bad. I mean, throwing 4 and 5 picks a game in the playoffs, like that's not how you win. And I don't want to bail on the guy or berate him because he loves the Lord and he's open about it, and good for him. But your job is to play football, and that was not a good football performance. And I'm sorry. And I hope it gets better for the young man. I wish I knew something that I could do to help him. But my goodness, that was rough. So I turned that game off. Chicago and the Rams. Of course, I'm recording this as the game is on. So I hope Chicago beats the tar out of the Rams. I hate the Rams. They're dead to me. And then... New England looked good, but, they didn't look like world beaters. They made their fair share of mistakes as well. Yesterday's game, clearly San Francisco, they'll say it's the injuries, but I'll say that it's probably more than that. They did have a lot of injuries, but they made it that far. To get drubbed that bad, 41-6, that to me, that's not good. And Seattle looks amazing, so good for Darnold, because I thought he was the X factor that might be bad. But yeah, and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people I listen to, they glaze on Kyle Shanahan. But you know what? I remember he was the guy who lost his notebook when Atlanta lost the Super Bowl, and he left Atlanta and took that head coaching job. People think he's great. I'm not saying he's not great, but I think he gets a lot more credit because of who his dad is. Yeah, I do. That's just the way I feel about it. I think he gets a lot more easy passes. People like Colin Cowherd want to hate on Mike Tomlin, but I don't see where Kyle Shanahan is a much better coach than Mike Tomlin. It wasn't until Emmanuel Sanders said how great Mike Tomlin was as a human that Colin Cowherd was finally like, oh yeah, he's a good guy. The guys just love him. He is the player's coach. Well, yeah, people been saying that. It's like you've been ragging on Tomlin for years. And I get it. I was tough on Mike T too, because if you're a Steelers fan, the last 5 or 6 years have just been brutal. Because they tease you into thinking they're a good team, and then you get to the playoffs and they're one and done. And they do just enough to not get a good lottery pick. So, you do the math on that. So anyway, I watched football, as you can see. I wonder where all the great wide receivers are, because you just look around and there's just a shortage of ones. Number one receivers and prototypical receivers are scarce, which leads me to the big loss of the weekend, which was the Bills. I mean, this might be the worst in terms of talent Bills team that Josh Allen was expected to take all the way. And yes, he's not perfect. And yes, he couldn't do it all by himself. And I guess people don't like the fact that people think he's a great quarterback. He is a great quarterback. I don't know what people need to see to say somebody's great. He's great. But at this rate, he's going to be Dan Marino because they just don't surround him with enough talent. He can't catch the ball too, you know? So it's like, I don't know. He just needs more people to throw. After Stephon Diggs, after whatever happened, they seemed friends and friendly at first. For those first couple seasons, they were best buds, and then something happened. And after Stephon Diggs left, who isn't a prototypical body type one, but is a one receiver, I mean, they've struggled to replace him. And it's not Khalil Shakir, who's a good wide receiver, but he's not a one. And they don't play him like he's the one, because in those big, I need a touchdown, I need the receiver to get big and catch the ball in the end zone plays, they don't throw it to him. So anyway, I don't want to just rail on the football, because this is not a sports podcast, but I love football. I've watched it for about 40 years now, longer than that, 50 years now. And I've seen a lot of styles of football, and the officiating is bananas and horrible. I've said it. Go back 3 or 4 podcasts. I am this close to not watching the NFL again for many reasons, but the officiating this year did not help. It was terrible. And I don't see how you can be on the ground after you caught the ball and then the receiver grab it from you and get up and you're down. Like, why doesn't that happen every play then? That was bullshit. And I'm not saying they would have won the game, because who knows? Josh Allen may have thrown an interception the very next play. I don't know. But that was a terrible play call in a season full of terrible play calls. And I don't know if they are just trying to ruin the game on purpose. I don't know what's going on, but that was horrible. And if you're a real fan of the sport, if you're a purist, this season has been marred by bullshit like that. And it's really hard to watch. And I don't understand what's happening. It was really frustrating. And I might have to become just a casual football fan, which I've never been in my whole life. So anyway, greed and ridiculousness is taking over everything that I love, and football is obviously one of those things. So I was watching Good Times, and I guess this is ironic and maybe just some more, Caucasian bullshit, as my former coworker Dave used to say. I'll come back to that. So I'm watching Good Times, and the shit is depressing. Like, they're never really having a good time by my standards. Just everything going to shit, and they're like, ain't we lucky we got them? No, these are not good luck things. You don't have any money. James is tired of, looking for multiple jobs. James gets an education, but there's no jobs. James gets into a program, but James is too old, and so the program can't help him. I mean, it's like bad thing after bad thing. And I guess in the 70s, because we were so excited to see black people on TV, you just didn't criticize it. You just think, oh, Norman Lear's just this genius. Everything he touches turns to gold. But in reality, that show was really, really challenging in a lot of ways. So I love the show with James on it. But you start to see when they turn the JJ character into this clown. Like, it's subtle, because the first season JJ is nothing like the second season JJ. And the third season is really annoying. And that dynamite thing is just... And granted, I was a kid when that was on. And I remember there was a Dynamite magazine. I don't think it had anything to do with JJ, but Dynamite was everywhere. It was on lunch boxes and magazine covers, and it was just everywhere. Dynamite. And now that I look at it, they worked so hard to aggressively put that in that it's almost like coonery. Not almost, it's cooning. It's cooning. It's what it is. I mean, he is just like, he might as well be like, that's a mighty good sauce, boss. You know what I mean? Like, he is Step and Fetch It or some version of that. Dynamite. And he works hard to get that in every show. And you can tell that the producers pitched that and the actor went along with it. And you can see increasingly that poor John Amos was like, this is not the show I signed up for. And so now I think the kids call these things microaggressions. I don't know. That might be a macroaggression. This was pretty overt coonery. But, and the actor went along with it. And the show is unwatchable after James leaves. Spoiler alert. It's 50 years old. James gets written off the show. And I see why he had to go. They took it from being a family-centered, we overcome all the odds as a team type show to this coonery and buffoonery. And because it was the 70s and we were so grateful to have people of color on the TV screen, I was a child, so I don't know if there was criticism, but I just remember like nobody would say anything bad about Norman Lear, but that was racist. That was racist what he did. And I mean the textbook version, the textbook definition of racism, which is, I believe I'm superior to you based off of my race. Because I don't believe they would have written a non-black or a white family like that. Because All in the Family, yes, Archie Bunker is ignorant, completely ignorant. But how can I say this? They didn't develop a character alongside him to undermine his ignorance and exploit his ignorance almost. Or, you know what I mean? It was like Archie was a character and you had to be smarter than him to figure out the joke. And it worked on that level, but it also worked on the level of people who agreed with Archie, which people don't talk about. But yeah, there are a lot of people who agree with Archie Bunker. And so the show worked for them on another level. But with Good Times, it was just ignorant. And I guess it's disrespectful to say that now. And rest in peace, Norman Lear, but that show didn't do us any favors. That is not a commercial you would run to young black kids to be like, this is how you get by. This is how you build a family. This is like the family dynamic and the couple dynamic was great in the early seasons. But like, they just made the JJ character insufferable. Insufferable. And it's almost like you're not going to complain because, here's a TV show. You asked for representation. Here it is. But I mean, just the theme song itself is insulting. Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt blow, thinking how it all looks, hand me down, good time, yeah, good time, keeping your head above water, making a way when you can, temporary layoffs, good time. That is not a good time. Have you ever been laid off and you need your money? That is not a good time. Scratching and surviving. That's not a good time, man. It's insulting. But I love the show. And I will continue to rewatch it till James dies. But that one's tough. That one's tough. Because you just wonder, how insulting it is to keep talking about what a good time it is. And these people ain't got shit. But ironically, we know the actors are making good money because the show was on TV for 6 seasons. So they're they're making money as actors, but they're playing poor on a TV show in Cabrini Green. You know, it's a lot. And I think they wouldn't make that show now, but not for the reasons you think. I think they wouldn't make that show now because ain't shit funny about it. When you that poor and you hungry. I just watched the dog food episode where they thought the neighbor brought down a meatloaf made out of dog food. Yeah, hilarious. I mean, it's funny on the show, but goddamn, that is not funny. You know, the whole episode is about them figuring out this lady is not only eating pet food, as they keep calling it, but when she's invited to dinner, she shows up with a meatloaf that they think is made out of dog food. How is that funny? Of course, they wrote it and it's entertaining on the show, but it's not. And it shouldn't be funny. That's when I guess that's my bigger point. It shouldn't be funny. I don't know. That's not hilarious. And I think if they tried to make the show today, people would feel some kind of way, and not in some overly sensitive, we can't take a joke kind of way, but in the real sense that some shit is so sad, it's not funny, and it's tasteless to make fun of it. Yeah? Yeah. And you know, if Tyler Perry won't do it, then you already know it's just a road too low. And he goes way, way on the low road, if you ask me. We don't tell the same types of stories, and we're not interested in the same types of things. And if he won't touch it, I mean, I don't watch his stuff, but has he made a show about people eating dog food? Because if he thought he could, you know, mind that territory, he would. That's definitely Tyler Perry territory. Just sad shit. So, you know, if he won't touch it, you already know.